For many years, guys, Zodiac has had his standing of being one of the best movies about a serial killer. But today, I'm here to tell you, it is not as good as you think. And there are a number of reasons for that. First and foremost, the movie lacks tension when we compare to other movies about serial killers such as The Frozen Ground, Kiss the Girls, and Memories of Murder, where you get a lot closer to the killer. Fair enough, they never knew the Zodiac killer, who he actually was, but the nearest real tension we get in this movie is in the third part of the movie, when Jake Gyllenhaal is the only one left that tries to solve the case. And it has a moment where he goes down to the basement to one of the suspects, slash the man he suddenly is dead afraid of. Secondly, the movie is very dragged out in a way. It has three parts. The first one where Mark Ruffalo is the one trying the hardest to solve the case. The second part where Robert Downey Jr. as this reporter called Paul Avery gets hold of some files and finds new information in the case. In the third part where Jake Gyllenhaal is the only one trying to solve the case and gives up his career as a cartoonist to go after Zodiac full time. You simply find too many parts where it is not entertaining in the movie, and the last part of the movie is probably the most entertaining, but the first and the second part could easily have been shortened. You gotta remember this movie almost lasts 3 hours, and that running time is not filled with entertainment for a lot of the time. Additionally, there's no standout acts. Mark Ruffalo does a decent role as this inspector in the case. Ken as the first man actively taking charge trying to solve the case. He does a decent role in that respect. But he, for instance, does a much better wholehearted role in Dark Waters. That is a much more intense movie than this one. Robert Downey Jr. does a decent role as this reporter that is also trying to solve the case, but then gives up and becomes a washed-out reporter living in a houseboat. He has also done much better roles after this movie. Thirdly, we got Jake Gyllenhaal that probably does the best role among the trio as this cartoonist that is the last one trying to solve who the Zodiac killer is, and he shows true dedication. Naturally, at the same time, even though you can see it in his act that he is heavily invested in it, he has done much better roles in other movies. One of the deepest reservations I have against this movie is about the office investigation rather than out in the field investigation. In movies like this, okay, it is totally fine, we got a crime wall and everything, we got discussions in the office, but when we, in this movie, almost got that exclusively, it is not that entertaining. That's why this movie at times also is heavily boring, because we see very little of when they actually are out there in the field, chasing someone or trying to find evidence. That's a completely different case with the other movies I mentioned earlier, and even in such obscure movies such as Solace from 2015, the level of out-in-the-field investigation is much higher, leading to more entertainment as they get a lot closer to the killer. As a last-ditch comment, I can say that I miss that the story do not go more into detail about the Zodiac guy. Yes, they do that to some extent, but I feel it is a weak balance between those trying to find him and the actual Zodiac killer to try to understand things more from his perspective. Of course, I never knew who he was, but we do not see too much of the killings either. They are just done in like 2 minutes, and they talk to other people about what happened, instead of seeing more in detail what actually happened. But I guess that's just another reason why Zodiac is not as good as you think, and I will give this movie a 6 out of 10.